I already did that. Okay, let's do it again.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to hit the record button here.
Okay.
So I've got two things going on here. I've got the camera.
You are freaking me
iPhone.
out. Yes, this is
I got the iPhone camera, and then I've got this camera.
Oh my God. Okay, well then you get your tongue sticking out, which is just totally wrong. Okay, you do that while I go get my stuff here.
I got a Miley Cyrus moment.
Oh God, please
okay.
don't Miley Cyrus.
Well, my plan is, I don't want this camera to look at.
Scare away half your audience?
Is to take this around the office and let everybody, see and talk and whatever.
Okay.
And then Michael and AJ have volunteered to come and be part of the panel, like here at the desk. So I've got the phone microphone, and then at some point I'm going to come over here, and then this is kind of a dry run. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to mute this microphone, and then I'm going to unmute that microphone. So hold on for just a second. Let me see.
So complicated.
Hold on.
Oh, feedback. All right, we found out there's not enough of a delay in there.
Okay. Somebody say something.
Yo.
Okay.
Yo.
I don't have audio over on the laptop for some reason.
Well, you sound different. Well, you can't hear me, so I'm just talking like an idiot now.
I don't have audio on the laptop. Built-in internal speakers.
Nom, says Barry. We gotta eat, I guess. Is it late or early over there, Barry?
Speaker.
Late?
There we go.
I just discovered that my girlfriend's on my side.
Can't hear a word you're saying, buddy. All I heard was food. I hope that was the word food.
Barry's muted. Barry, you're muted. Hold on. How you Barry?
No. Don't worry. It was interesting.
Now talk it, Barry.
Myself just to speak, but I'm not saying anything interesting. Really, just keep me muted.
All right. You don't want to hear? I'm
just eating my breakfast.
Barry's frozen.
My girlfriend's breakfast.
Oh, breakfast. All right, so it's early. I could just check. The world clock. How hard would that be?
Now, are you guys getting any kind of feedback or anything?
Nope. Are you?
And does this sound okay? The microphone's like over here.
It's fine. Yeah. Sounds better than the other one.
Yeah, I think it sounds good.
Yeah, well, the one on the phone is going to be what it is, and then this one's going to be more open air. Yeah,
You sound so much more there with that microphone.
Yeah. Okay. I hope the recording comes out just as well. So. Wouldn't
it be kind of a disappointment if your your iPhone voice recording was better than your $200 or whatever microphone you've got there?
Yeah, it'd be a little surprising, but yeah, it could happen.
I don't know how much it costs. I'm just making up a number.
Okay. So we got.
Okay.
Who else is normally here? Who else is here? I don't know if Brian's going to join us.
Well, maybe he didn't spring forward. I don't know how that's possible in today's modern world, but you never know.
Yeah, I'm traveling, and I didn't even have to, do anything, right? I mean, just somebody told me, but if I hadn't known, I'd still
be on time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the iPhone can handle that.
Okay, so Sergey says he's going to join in a few minutes.
Right.
Okay, so I think that's Brian. Brian may or may not join us, and I think.
So you notice I tried to do the theme thing. I got my old GDT shirt on from the last time 7 years ago. Can't even believe it. I went. I know I was invited, but I didn't make it. Everything's crazy chaotic right now.
All right. Okay.
Of course. I don't know why I bothered wearing a special shirt. You can't see anything anyways, just my head.
I need to pick up my old Corona T-shirt just to show off as well.
You know, if Corona really wanted to do this, they should just give us all hats, because then, you know, then we could do it with the hat.
Or Corona glasses, actually.
Uh-oh, feedback. There's Charles doing his feedback thing again.
Okay, did it go away?
No.
Why didn't it go away?
Well, I think the feedback went away, but the echoing is there.
Steve's having fun. Steve's like, this is, wow. All the brain power in this room, virtual, and we still can't get this working. I blame Charles.
That's all right.
Well,
Want me to Google that for you, Charles? Charles, I asked a question this weekend. Charles did that. Let me Google that for you. Answer. I'm like, that was very nice, Charles. I had Googled that. That was my problem. Google was not helping me. Google was helping, but Corona wasn't.
Did you ever find the answer to your question?
No, not really. I mean, I guess the answer was it's not really technically supported anymore.
Oh.
So the question was compatibility mode. I was trying to help somebody in the forums. They were trying to get a 2-year-old app working, and so I said, hey, you're going to need to rebuild it. First of all, it's the reason your app's not working is because it's old. And so, you know, eventually the OS is going to go, hey, you can't run that anymore. So rebuild it with a recent Corona. And if it's 2 years old, you're going to have to do a graphics 2.0 conversion, or somebody came in, or deal with conversion. And then I tried to find the conversion guide. I couldn't find it. There they are. We got half of Sergey's head, and we got Brian.
hello, guys.
Now, half of your head's probably good enough. It's like, you know, same amount of brain power I got going on out here, right?
How about this?
Yeah, it's perfect. Is that your evil side, or is there not an evil side? Sergey's like, what are you talking about?
I couldn't come up with a funny answer.
Okay.
It was my stupid side. That was it.
Charles is playing with his camera.
And a selfie stick. Oh.
You know, Charles, that side view does not look good. The other side view.
He probably stuck his camera.
I don't think he knows what he's doing.
I know, he doesn't know what he's doing. You slay me. Please tell me that this is not going to go out on the live one. I mean, I know we're recording and we're online, but still.
I must warn you, everything you're about to say will be recorded and used against you on internet.
Yeah. Oh, man, I should record this. Poor Charles. Charles is like, I'm just trying to host a show, and Ed is being a total jerk. Oh, yeah, there we go.
He's playing golf.
Oh, he's trying to get his selfie stick working.
Selfie stick out of a golf club? That's interesting.
He's about to do a walkabout.
All right, can you hear me?
Roger.
Okay, yeah, I figured out that AirPlay, for some reason, AirPlay had switched to my phone.
Oh.
Something, it switched and it wasn't, I couldn't hear you guys very well, so.
Oh, okay.
All right.
We see you, Mr. Charming. There we go. Okay. I swear to God, though, you really want to cancel off that other camera.
Which one?
That one, yes.
No, I gotta leave that one because the guys are gonna come in a little bit.
Okay, just try stop doing weird stuff with the stick there, okay? We see you playing with yourself. Now you're just gonna make me throw up. Oh God.
Get vertigo?
No. Yes.
All right, here we go.
Roger. Get yours. What's wrong with my camera?
What's wrong with my camera? All right, guys, it's time for another Corona Geek, this time from Palo Alto. So we're going to walk around the office today, and we're going to talk to some of the engineers. we've got everybody on the Hangout with us here, so welcome, guys. And then we're going to talk about, what is it, two-touch navigation. So I think oh, good, they're all eating. Perfect. Let's talk to them while they have food in their mouth. So we'll give them a second to get their grub on. But first, yeah, let's talk to Josh.
Are you gonna walk up and ask them how their meal is?
Yeah, where's your meal, man? You don't eat lunch?
My meal's over there, and he caught me. So
sweet,
yeah.
We got him.
Right. Yeah.
So all right, state your name and what you do.
Okay, my name's Joshua Quick, and I work on the core Windows and Android and Windows Phone code.
Okay. And you like long walks on the beach and quiet afternoons?
Exactly.
All right, so tell me what's the thing that you're most excited about?
There's lots of things going on all the time. Yeah. So I've been here for like about 5 years now, so we've done a lot. Yeah, done a lot, and I'm personally excited about like pushing forward on the desktop side of things, right, and going farther on the Android side of things and iOS. And I don't know, it's just kicking the snot out of Unity a bit, right? Well, although we're not really competitors, but
yeah,
but
yeah. So is it overstating? I know that you. I want to say this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. You're the guy who wrote the Windows stuff, right? Like all the Windows support.
I took it out of beta, so I wasn't the original person, but I took it out of there and went farther with it. Yeah, right. So I pretty much re-architected it in the past year. So now it's like all the benefits we're getting from the Windows desktop side, we're getting the simulator side too. So you're seeing a lot of nice changes because of that. So it's that part's nice because everyone benefits from it, even if you're not targeting Windows, right? If you happen to running the simulator on Windows and build for Android or whatever, you get those benefits. And plus, you also get another developer here, Perry. He mostly works on the Mac simulator side. So him and I kind of like have our own little internal. I can do this thing better than you. Do this thing better than me. So we have a little internal competition there. So.
That's cool. And so you're, and also whenever you talk about anything Java, right? It's you and AJ and who else? Does that mean you?
That's for the Android side. Yeah, it's AJ. I used to do a lot of the Android stuff in the past, right? We had other people too, but and like we also got people helping out with plugins now too. So you got like Sergey, you have Danny Glover. Not the Danny Glover, but it's like, but the Irish Danny Glover. So, but yeah, we got more stuff going on. Actually, it's a big help on the Android side because, like, for core engineering on the Android, we're always trying to make it as compatible as possible. We're always running into something, right? We got to do the next API level, right? Oh, this thing doesn't quite work the same on this fourth Android device or whatever, right? So we're always like chasing those things down. But now we've got people to help out with plugins now. They can just focus on features versus working making a solid core, solid foundation on Android.
But here's the thing that always amazes me, and I try to communicate this to people as clearly as possible, is that, when you're talking about the team, there's like support element people like myself, more sort of administrative support, whatever, right? Rob and Brent and all the guys who do great work. But the engineers is a very, very small team. We're talking, a handful of people, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's just amazing kind of stuff. So kudos to you guys for that, for sure.
Yeah, very busy, but
yeah.
It's like what's the right team size? If it's too big, you don't want to clobber each other in the code, right? But versus like plugin develop is a nice way of actually kind of they're on their part of the code. You don't touch mine, right? We're not like stepping on each other's toes. So that's always interesting in how big should the team be.
Right. You don't want to get to the point where you get diminishing returns, where you get too many people.
Yeah, you don't want to clobber each other's changes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, very coul Yeah. My daughter's sending me a text. Awesome. Okay. Well, any other thoughts? Anything that you want to, what are you working on right now?
Right now it's just, I'm making like little, a bunch of little changes for the Windows side and Windows Corona Simulator before I work on the next big thing. So usually when I work on big things, all the little stuff like comes to a screeching halt, right? Like when I added native text field text box support, that was like a month job. Believe it or not. That was a lot of work, right? or like game controller support. That was like a month and a half, but only because like game controller support of Windows is like really good. Actually, it supports a multitude of controllers, and we need to support direct input and X input. We need to make them both work in tandem without them clobbering each other. You know what the cool controllers like, such as this, where it has a switch on the back where you can switch to Xbox mode versus direct input mode. You know, handling all those cases.
So you talked a moment ago about text boxes and stuff. So so that's like a thorn, right?
It was.
How does that tell us? You know, the trials and tribulations of text boxes.
That's it. We're actually implementing a native Win32 implementation of the text build, and doing that with OpenGL or State Direct 3D is kind of unusual because they're both they render. How they render is totally different, right? You don't want OpenGL to render on top, even though the control is on top of the viewer. Believe it or not, that's an issue. And we have to do things like you clip around all the child control so it doesn't paint on top, right? Because otherwise, if you do that, then you have to tell the text build to paint afterwards, and you get this bad flickering effect. Because this is the early '90s UI framework. People forget that. That's the native implementation on Windows. They're, believe it or not, like flicker-free native UI rendering is a thing. There's whole articles on it. Oh, wow. And you want to avoid that. So it's like, once I figured out, you know, oh, it's possible, I can clip around it, right? I can do this stuff. It was interesting. It was interesting, but we pulled it off. I'll eventually have to do the same thing for web views. So not going to be a simple thing either. That's right. Web views on Windows is going to be an interesting thing too. So.
and it seems like there's always this distinction between what's in the simulator versus what's on the device versus. I mean, So is there always that challenge, is knowing which, making it work in all places?
That's part of the challenge of cross-platform development, right? Because everyone's going to do something a little different, right? We run into that all the time. So it's like that's why we get together as a team and we discuss how we're going to do the feature. If you just like start it on one platform, let's say like iOS, and do everything Apple's way, then you jump to Android, it's like, oh wait, they do it a completely different way, right? So it's like we try to design the APIs so to avoid that issue to begin with, right?
Yeah, and since since we have you here and you talked about cross-platform, one of the things that I always try to share with people, especially at like GDC and stuff like that, is like, yeah, it's cross-platform between iOS and Android, but it's also you guys also abstract all the differences between all the versions of Android as well, right? So you're still using one API, kind of getting the benefit of all.
Oh yeah, but on Android, that means fallback mechanisms. You have to like do a OS version check to see if it's capable. Otherwise, you fall back to your own implementation that you wrote by hand. I've done that. Or you no-op or you return like something else, right? So that's actually very normal on Android, dealing with that. Google doesn't mind making breaking changes. I'll tell you that. Like, just look at notifications, how they build that.
But I know when developers start talking about whether or not they're going to use like let's say I showed up and I was like, hey, I want to make an app, and you're like, oh, well, are you going to do iOS or are you going to do Android? You're like, oh, well, then you got to make that decision between the one or the other, right? And then though, like let's say you say, well, I'm going to do Android. Well, now you're saying there's all these differences between the versions of Android, right? So you're not just saying, hey, I'm going to choose Android.
Android's interesting because it's not just the different OS versions you got to deal with, because that's not so bad to deal with. It's also dealing with all the forked version of Android, let's say like from Samsung, who their behaviors, it doesn't follow Google's rules. So you look at Google's documentation on the Android, like they say, oh, we support AAC, but like the AC audio decoder, right? But you may run into an Android device where the manufacturer decides, I don't want to pay royalties for this, because there is royalties involved, and that's how they keep the costs low. And so it's like you can't guarantee support for that because you got devices that don't follow the rules, so to speak. So, and then there's dealing with different app stores, let's say Amazon or someone else, right? I mean, there's Ouya and the Razer thing, right? There's Samsung. I don't know how they're doing now, but like once you're on a different app store on a device that doesn't have Google Play, that means you don't have Google's native maps. You don't have their remote notification system, right? Like Amazon has their own push notification system. They have their own in-app purchase system. So it's really on Android, you're not just targeting Android, you're targeting an app store. Which is why in our build window, like we did this like 3-4 years ago, we added a drop down to indicate which store you're targeting, because that's actually more valuable. knowing who you're targeting, because that actually may dictate what features are available too.
Oh, okay. So that does actually mean something when you're choosing the
Oh
store.
yeah. So like if you use Google's push notification system, it won't work on a Kindle Fire or a Fire TV, because the push notification system goes through the Google Play app. It doesn't exist on those devices. Amazon has their own system. So, I mean, that's where people use like a third-party notification system. It's like, oh, don't worry, we'll handle that from there. And then they'll use our APIs to push it out or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot more than I thought.
It can be 10 times the work, only just trying to make it work with different stores and stuff like that. Like Maps, for example. Like our implementation of Maps on Android, it uses like a web view through Google Maps, because we can't guarantee the native implementations there on, let's say, it doesn't exist on a Kindle or an Amazon like Fire TV device. It doesn't exist on a Barnes & Noble Nook, which isn't around anymore, but it didn't exist there. And there's probably like not on an Ouya or Razor Forge, right? Because that's proprietary stuff that's made by Google, and they want you to do it through Google Play. So.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a lot of smart people on the panel, so I want to give them a chance to ask questions as well. So you guys, yeah, Barry's shaking his head. Don't shake your head.
I did Windows Phone stuff too, so it's like, I mean, that's a smaller market, but yeah.
Yeah. So, Ed, did you have a question? I saw somebody put something in the chat. Give him a second. Catch up.
I had to unmute myself. No, I was just saying, that hurts. You know, you put in all that effort to support something, and then you were joking, right? We all sort of laughed, haha, Nook went away, but that totally sucks, because you put in hours and hours of work, and developers also, like I'm sure Mike here is specifically understanding this, to support Nook, and then they go away. Which I was just commenting on that. It sucks that, you know, you can't just focus on like that's the nice thing about Apple, right? You can focus on Apple, and you know Apple's going to be there, and they're going to do their best to do backwards compatibility, and it doesn't always happen. But Google, on the other hand, is like Android. I should say Android. Android, on the other hand, is like wild, wild west. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, that's the best description. It is the wild west of platforms. So. Yeah, the worst part is like, you know, Google documents one thing and you find it's not true on all devices. It's like, oh, that's a bummer. And we've actually talked to a Google engineer about it, and they say, just go talk to the manufacturer about it. Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Wow.
So
yeah,
it is what it is. So
it's kind of like they own it, but they don't own it. Right?
Yeah. So I mean, they would rather you just focus on Google Play and do that. Well, you know, honestly, on Android, the best you can do is honestly, if you're not going to have 100% compatibility. I want to say that. But you're always going to run into some oddball device in some country, and it does its own thing. And it's like, you know, the best you can do is you can focus on the most popular devices, right? You know, like the Samsungs, like the Galaxy S3s, 4s, 5s, or whatever, or the Nexus devices, right? I mean, Google Play has that option to like blacklist certain devices, and it exists for a reason. It's too bad that does exist, right? But we do our best we can to actually support as many devices as that we can. So yeah,
you know what this really is? It's a conspiracy to get developers to just buy every device that exists.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden, like, Android development is very expensive, right? Once you realize that the developer tools are free, but the devices, man.
Right. Yeah. All right. Anybody else got any questions?
Yeah, mine would be. So, would you suggest if we're targeting an app store that's not Google Play, but, you know, for the Android side of things, to do the generic build for that? Is that the safest way to go?
Well, okay. So, first of all, that App Store target, that's like metadata that's added to the manifest. That's how it really works. It's just a string in there, right? We have some plugins that like look at what store you're targeting. Like if you're like, for example, if you try to use Google licensing, right, it'll only actually attempt to activate that licensing module, or let's say Google Play expansion files, if you're actually targeting Google Play, because those are Google Play exclusive features. That helps make it portable, because if you just happen to build for Amazon as well, it disables that part of the code. Like, it won't even attempt to use expansion files, even though if it's flagged, it's actually set true in the build settings. That's on purpose. So.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, because like if you do native Android development, it's not so simple. That's something Google tried to solve with Android Studio Studio and Gradle, because I used to be kind of the pain in the ass, to be honest, to do it natively. But yeah, I mean, that's just a string that you can actually get through Lua to see which store you're actually targeting dynamically, so you can make a quick decision within your own code. I mean, there's still more to do. Like Sergey and I were like talking about like how can we best handle TV devices, and that's interesting because there's Android TV, the official Google version, and then there's the non-official ones like the Amazon Fire TV and Ouya and Razor Forge. There's other ones too, like GameStick, and who knows what else is out there. Like the Xiaomi TV devices in China. And there's like no one way to identify that it's a TV device. So we had like a conversation about what's the best way to identify it. You go to the documentation for each one of them, and they all should state a different way. So that's just one of the challenges we have to figure out.
Okay. Any other questions from the gallery here? I don't want to keep Josh too long. He doesn't want to eat his lunch. while it's still edible. Anybody else got any questions? Sergey? Come on, you got a question. I know you got a question.
Okay. I worked on game controller stuff too. That's a question.
I noticed you have my game controller.
Oh, you have the same one.
On the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all in the same club of the controllers. It's mine.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I have that one too.
That's funny.
I went to the store and bought this specifically because it has this switch on the back and it's suddenly changed. That's a test case in itself, yeah. But we also tested it with all this huge variety. You should have seen it. We had a huge variety of Xbox controllers. Like I brought a Guitar Hero controller. There was a dance pad. There was
somebody took a screenshot of that or a picture. I thought there was a picture of like the big collection of.
Oh yeah. We haven't tried the fishing controller.
Show it. Show it, Vlad.
We need a Corona fishing game, guys. Yeah. Oh yeah, we tried out PlayStation. Yeah. And I'm gonna say this shamelessly: our Windows game controller support's better than Unity's. I'm just gonna throw that out there. It's way better.
It's
not being biased by the guy who wrote.
It's a very humble brag I just made. There.
All right. Well, cool. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's some great insights, man. All right. I'm gonna make my way around the room here. I think people are starting to finish their lunch, and so Vlad's on.
Don't give people an opportunity to flee.
Oh no, they're not going anywhere. This place isn't big enough to flee. There's no flee. So Vlad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
Tell us what you do.
I'm like core engineer, so I mostly focus on graphics and graphic improvements and new graphic features. I also appear to be a person who is responsible for probably all iOS development and tvOS.
Yeah, you have become the tvOS guy, right?
Yeah. No, I mean it's shared. It's like I do a lot of iOS stuff, and if something iOS is broken, I fix it. I also do iOS plugins and tvOS. I don't know, kind of because it's kind of iOS too.
It seems like it works out that way though, right? Because Perry's on iOS.
Perry's mostly Mac.
Yeah. And Josh is sort of the Windows Android guy, and then I mean everybody can do everything, right? But they wind up with areas of responsibility, either by selection or by
by fortune
assignment. Yeah. So okay, so
yeah, Josh is like mostly Windows and like partially Android. Like AJ's Android. I am like core graphics and just not mostly core graphics and iOS, which includes tvOS too.
Yeah.
And Harry is doing like OS X.
Okay, you guys have on the panel. Do you guys have questions about tvOS
or iOS?
Or iOS?
Oh.
Barry has lots of questions on graphics.
Yeah, sure. By the way, Sergey, you asked for like anchors in Corona Canvas. Canvas.
Yeah.
Is there in you can use them
now? Come again?
You can use anchor X and anchor like Y.
Oh, yeah.
In Corona Canvas.
Yeah, I saw it.
damn it, just texture resource canvas, right?
Okay.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I have it like demo, which like you basically can make like a camera out of it, and also width and height are modifiable now, so you can like zoom in and zoom out or pin in, pin out with a canvas.
So having these anchors, it really simplifies the mathematics about camera and all other stuff. It really
Well,
is.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I commented it all out. Let me uncomment all out.
No, he's making code changes here on the fly. He's doing an ed. Hold on.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Hold on. Let me flip the camera. Can I flip the camera without totally messing things up? I got a phone call. Let me pick this off.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
So here I have like an anchor. Okay, let me just.
This is like real screen sharing here.
Okay. So yeah, let's remove anchor. So let's like just do width and height. So basically, it's like I'm just changing width and height of a canvas, so it moves around. Basically, it's like only thing I do is I'm changing width and height of the viewport. If you could see that, could you show it again?
Oh, show it again. Okay.
Yeah, show it again. Okay. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. See, basically, just I'm changing width and height of the viewport. It's not like I don't change any like rendering. It's just like one simple animate width and height of the viewport. Also, I can like scroll it. Like basically, you can scroll. Now I'm just changing anchor X and anchor Y over canvas. And now I'm changing both, which results in weird like movement of camera.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you can like do it live. I think I posted this demo somewhere on a blog post. Somewhere.
Okay, I'll get the link from him so we can put it in the show notes.
Yeah, it's live now. It's like for some time already. I'm also working like lots of new features. Yeah.
Yeah, you just did on-demand stuff, right?
Oh yeah, like the TVOS on-demand resources. So TVOS has like a limit of 200 megabytes per bundle, so your apps cannot be more than 200 megs. So what Apple suggests that you like download your resources when you need them, and they provide mechanism for it. So it's implemented for TVOS on-demand resources plugin. It's also like it's not really a plugin. Most of it is like in how you package an app, so it's part of a core. I mean, you have still to download a plugin, but like the most work is done when packaging.
Okay.
So your app is divided into small bits, and you can access them as just they would be in your resource like folder. You don't have to like get file path or anything like that. You just access them. Well, you have to request the bundle before using it. Like, so you should download it to make sure it's downloaded.
Is there anything that you think is like what's next? Like the thing that needs to be in there that is coming next?
I'm not sure if I want to share it, but I'm currently working on some like C APIs to help with graphics, because currently we don't really have like a way to cross-platformly interact between Corona Core and your like C plugins.
Okay.
Or C++, whatever your plugin.
Uh-huh.
So I'm trying to do something there. It could be like it could give away to a lot of like different interesting plugins, like generate like some complex procedural generated textures, or like set pixel get pixel, like just memory bitmap, or like we were speculating about like text rendering.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you could write a text rendering plugin which would directly push a texture into Corona.
And is this something that you just sort of like you're like, hey, I'm interested in this, and you're working on it?
Yeah, it's pretty like far in development. Maybe it would be released soonish.
Yeah.
I can.
But it seems like you do you work on things that are in the pipeline.
Yeah.
But then it seems like you go home and you work on things that are just sort of like pet projects, right?
Yeah. So that's kind of.
Yeah.
So basically this part I don't know when it's gonna be ready.
Right.
There are like lots of challenges like cross-platform. Like the most challenge is like all platforms have different native bitmap, texture formats. And when you try to provide like raw bitmap access from a plugin, it's like you have to coordinate all these things somehow.
Yeah. Okay.
So so currently it's I got it working very stable, but I'm not sure how well it does on like cross-platform.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I think that's the trick. People don't.
Yeah.
I forget is that even I forget that sometimes. I'm like, a request will come in from user voice, and it seemed like a pretty straightforward request, but then once you throw in the cross-platform mix, then it becomes much more complicated. And that's it's interesting to hear the engineering meetings where everybody's kind of like, well, you can do it here, but not there, and you can kind of do it there, but not fully the same way.
Yeah,
it's a weird sort of.
It's a lot of like with the wrappers around native APIs. It's a lot of trouble because basically we have very different APIs on Windows, Mac, and OS X, and iOS and tvOS. Basically, they all have different approaches to solving the same problems, and it's a big challenge we try to solve for developers. That's why people use game engines, because all these platforms are different.
Right.
And we provide some like common ground how we can access and don't lose much in flexibility just because we have this layer of abstraction.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks. Yeah. I'm gonna make my way around the room a little more. Hey, can you guys hear? Okay, is this coming through all right?
It's okay, but the microphone would be better. But it's okay.
Yeah. You guys want to let's go in here to the other room. You guys, you up for that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll get AJ and Michael at the same time. That way we can kind of get a better mic quality, and we can also kind of consolidate time, because I don't want this to go too long for you guys, and I want them to get back to work.
I want to add that while I was working on Corona Canon, guys really helped me out on some major stuff with tvOS and game control support. So guys are really awesome.
All right. Okay. Now I turn the microphone off here.
So, is it over?
And is it over? Can you guys hear?
Yeah.
Okay, Barry's shaking his head. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, guys. The camera on I'm using the iPhone app, the Zoom iPhone app, and it has a bunch of different controls. One for mute, one for the audio jack, one for volume control, and just sometimes it doesn't all line up. So anyway, I guess I could get rid of this, or at least.
Yes, please.
Please. Is it freaking you out a little bit? Hold on.
Do you not like selfie sticks?
No. You don't like selfie sticks? Do they scare you? Or are they like miniature poodles that kind of freak you out? Okay, hold on. I don't even know how to close this without closing everything. Let's see. Okay. I'm just gonna put it on. I don't know where I'm gonna put it. Hold on. Leave. I'm gonna leave. I hope I'm not leave. I'm gonna leave the meeting.
I think it was leave.
Yeah, but if you don't remember which one you started the meeting from, then you kill the whole meeting. Yeah. So you guys come in close. Come in like let's be buds. Let's be BFFs.
I thought we were BFFs. This isn't a let's be BFFs. I thought that was already the case.
Okay, cool. So, so I asked each guy what they did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so AJ, you tell us your name and what you do.
Hey everyone, I'm AJ. I think I've probably popped in on a Chrono Geek After Dark at one point. So I probably have seen some of you, but not all of you. So I'm a core engineer. I primarily work on the Android platform. I also have done some plugins and a little bit of iOS work, but right now it's mainly just core Android stuff.
And you know, okay, so I'm gonna call you out on this because nobody will hear. I'll tell you what, nobody here wants to toot their own horn. Okay, this is the reason I have a job, because nobody here will like raise their hand and say I'm awesome. It's my job to point out how awesome these guys are. If you don't already know it, okay. AJ implemented, probably with a little bit of Josh's help there at the end, the Android 6 changes, right?
Yep.
Okay, and this wasn't just like, hey, we're going to now support Android 6. This was big. It was a lot of changes. There was a lot of code to touch. It affected other things that were not necessarily Android related. And I may be saying this wrong, but I'm telling you, it was a lot of work, and that guy right there is responsible for it. So let's all give him a. Everybody give him a.
Off and on for about 6 months. Really hardcore in the last like month and a half, I think.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of long work, and then right at the end there was like this just crunch time. And I know you didn't sleep.
I could have slept better. Definitely didn't have many weekends, that's for sure. But you know, I got it done. Mainly, I was trying to get it done before Samsung had their stuff out, because then Marshmallow would be all over the place, and suddenly humongous demand for it. And I got the timing about right. So
okay, that's cool. And so Android is kind of like your thing. Is that it?
Basically, I've been doing all the newer stuff with it. Occasionally, Josh will chime in and give me some feedback on what I'm doing, since he has done Android programming longer than I have.
Right.
Yeah, I'm the main guy that's doing that right now.
Okay.
Well, you just released Android M support. Now there's Android N support.
Yeah, really. Like 2 weeks later, after we get Android M out the door, here's the end developer preview.
Yeah. I think that's the other thing that people forget, or just don't, they just don't know, is that everything that's supported, everything that's a feature, Google Play game services, or iCloud, or whatever it is, it's now something that is integrated into the platform, that now every time there's an update or a change, Facebook, for example, is like they change their API all the time. And now it's like, we can't just say, well, we'll get to that. We have to fix it, right? We have to update it. And then that's just an amazing amount of work. And oh, by the way, I'm still doing the first thing that you wanted me to do, right? It's kind of like the joke about, you can take a number and, like only so many people can be on your back at one time.
Right.
You're also big on the Facebook V4 plugin.
Yeah, so I wrote that originally. It was forked from our original Facebook plugin that I believe Danny Glover wrote. But now we're handing that back to him, and I'm occasionally chiming in on maintenance tasks with that.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll actually be able to drop the beta label sometime.
Danny's not here, and I know he's going to watch this later, but I'm sure there was a point where Danny was like, he went off to do other things, and I'm sure he was like, whew, I'm glad I'll never see that piece of code again. And he came back, and they're like, oh, here you go. He's like, oh, crap. So, all right. So, and then down at the end there, we got Michael. Michael is a regular on Chrono Geek After Dark, so we've seen him a lot. But Michael, give us the skinny for anybody who doesn't know.
All right. Hi, Michael. I'm also a core engineer. I work all over the place. I worked on tvOS with the new touch input there. I'm working on our new plugin backend system to support versioning and betas and a bunch of other new features there. Work internally on a lot of our tools. I kind of just the guy who does like whatever needs doing at the time.
You like the Swiss Army knife of
yeah, sure.
So you're
always trying to paint a picture in somebody's mind. I'm like a Swiss Army knife code. You got to do that from now on.
No, I'm gonna pass on that.
You're gonna pass. No, that's all you, man. That's all you.
Yeah. So just a lot of different things for me.
And I know a lot of people, especially on the panel, who have made plugins, are familiar working with you on on getting plugins out there and stuff. So
for better or worse, there are a couple people that I haven't responded to yet that I need to respond today. But
yeah,
there's so much going on. Where
he was just about to respond to you when I pulled him in here. So it's coming. Don't worry. So is there anything that you guys are like excited about? Like what's the next thing, or what are you working on now, or what are you just see kind of coming down the pipe that you're just like, hey, you know, this, because everybody seems to have their thing here that they're kind of excited about.
In general, or something?
Yeah, just it could be something here, just something in general. I mean, we got a Pixel C in the office today, brand new. You know, could be.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
I guess the thing I'm looking for most is unrealistic. What I'm working on mostly right now is all back-end systems. So it's all stuff that if it works well, no one will notice it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of boring. But I don't know. We have an Oculus Rift coming. I kind of want to. I don't know at all how that would work with Corona. I really doubt it ever will. But I just kind of want to play with it.
You know, being in the perk office, I've been actually asked by people, "Hey, does Corona do VR?" And I'm like, well, you know, I mean, it's not beyond reason, but at this point, we don't have a, you know, there's Oculus Rift, but there's not, you know, like say if you had cardboard and Oculus Rift, I mean, it's kind of like a wide spectrum, right? So there's not those things like iPhone and those major platforms that get supported. So I tell people, you know, maybe, right? But to me, it seems like augmented reality has a lot more practical applications in the short term than VR. Could you see something like that? Maybe?
I think they both have their uses. I mean, if you want to do something that takes the feed of the camera and you overlay certain things on that, that's cool, the augmented reality. But I mean, we're primarily a game platform, right? And games and see that more as like a virtual reality, you know, augmented reality sort of thing.
Right.
Unless you have like, you know, Pokemon now. There's a Pokemon behind that curtain there. I gotta, you know, put my VR on and go get you, or whatever.
I will make a VR game.
What? Say what?
I will make a VR game.
You make a VR game? Well, we had Disco Cat on Corona Geek After Dark, so that's, you know, to me that's a augmented reality. It's a dancing cat on top of a, you know, but it's still augmented reality. So okay, AJ, anything like?
Let me think. Probably the things I'm most excited about that I'm working on. It'll be nice when we finally have multi-deck support, so nobody has to worry about hitting the dex limit for plugins anymore. I know that's been a big thing that a lot of people have been running into recently. So yeah, when we actually have that, finally, people will just get it. Don't have to do anything. That'll be nice. Other Android-related things like more integration with Android Studio, and I know Lurgus put some work into that area, so thank you for that. Having things like, I can, you know, test my thing in the emulator, like from the build window in Corona SDK would also be cool. But yeah, a lot of the things that are exciting for me are just like some of the things where Android is lacking, getting them up to speed with where we are on iOS, and then going further beyond that, doing the really cool Android exclusive things.
Do you think that with the newer, the more modern versions of Android, do you feel like it's easier to make feature parity across the platforms, or is it still kind of like you can do something over here that you can't do over there?
It seems like the fragmentation problem is going down a little bit. Like I remember we were around Android 6, we were kind of frantic of like, okay, when other vendors throw this out, we got to test it immediately. You know, make sure that there's no weird breaking stuff. And for the most part, we didn't really find anything. So I guess to answer, I might have just talked completely around your question. Do you want to repeat your question? Sorry.
He's going to be a politician someday. No, that's good. I kind of get what you're saying. It's you know, it's not 100%, but it's closer, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Definitely moving more towards like complete feature parity between the two where we can. Obviously, they're different enough where that's 100% parity is a little impossible, but we could definitely be closer than we are right now.
Yeah, I saw a thing the other day that was saying that you know, on iOS side that very few people have 6 installed anymore, and things like that. So on the Android side, where are we? What was like what's the slice like?
So there's definitely more fragmentation in the Android world. I think just over the last month, Android 5, the Lollipop version, finally overtook KitKat in terms of popularity, but each one is only like 30% used. And yeah, like, I mean, we still support all the way back to Android 2.3, and that's because there's still, you know, like a little over 2% of the market is still there. So like, it's not a ground like iOS where, you know, 95% of people are on the latest version or whatever crazy statistic. That's obviously I'm exaggerating, but because of that, it does limit what we can really make cross-platform. It adds a lot more testing time to make sure we don't break stuff in older builds, use like APIs that aren't supported on the older stuff and whatnot. So either way, it makes the Android platform a little bit more challenging, but we're getting close.
Okay. So what I hear though is that there's things like you're saying, like that 30% or that 2%. You really just have to wait for that 2% to not be there anymore before you're like, hey, there's no reason to support this anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
More than that, it's, you know, is there a reason we need to like bump that up? Like iOS 6, there was an internal discussion, should we drop it or not? It's kind of low in usage, but there's no reason to drop it, so why do it?
Right.
Yeah. It's not that hard for us to support it. It's like one little tiny change.
It's already there. Yeah. No need to don't fix what's not broken, sort of thing. And then the other thing that it's interesting that I forget about, and I'm continually reminded, is that 2%, let's just say, and I'm totally making this up and it's just random out of my head, but let's just say that 2% is like Argentina, right? I mean, like boom, you know, you've got a whole population of people who, you know, if you didn't support that anymore, then they wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't have access. Yeah. So it sounds like, you know, it's 2%, but it could be a large slice.
Yeah.
Interesting. Definitely. Okay. All right. Well, panel, anybody got questions? Come on, guys. This is your chance.
My question would be, do you think you're going to support Samsung?
Oh, no, your question didn't come.
VR?
I don't think your question didn't come through.
Oh, are you going to support the Samsung?
Are you going to support the Samsung?
Samsung.
Yeah.
Are we going to support the Samsung App Store?
Yeah, again soon.
I don't actually have an answer to that question. I don't think we've had an internal discussion about whether we want to support them again, or, you know, what. Well, I guess for me, I don't actually know what the market is in the Samsung App Store, how well that did or whatever for our developers. So I wish I had an answer to that question, but I don't.
So let me turn that question, and maybe they'll help the discussion. Mike, what is it that you want to get out of the Samsung App Store, besides obviously sales? But I mean, what do you feel like it provides over the other venues? Somebody put money in the chat. Thanks.
I mean, just more reach. I don't nothing else. I mean, obviously, I just want to reach as many people as possible.
Yeah, it's like a 2%, right?
The other thing is that I had a lot in that App Store, and now I can't update and kind of keep up with them.
We have to look at like what their specific requirements are and see if there's any hurdles. But if it's a low barrier to entry, I think we should do that.
Yeah, I remember one thing that Josh mentioned in the past was we had dropped them because they wanted to include their entire SDK in anything that targeted their app store. I mean, when we have multi-dexing out the window, like even if that requirement's still there, it might not be as much of a problem anymore. But
how big is their SDK? That's like the stylus stuff in it.
Yeah, that has all kinds of things. But I mean, if we have multi-dex in there, it's not like it would be contributing to some limit anymore.
Okay, so that's something I want to highlight, that because that's what I just heard, is that, you know, there are times when people think, Corona Labs, why don't you support this? And there's the technical aspect of things, like we just said, looking at it to see if there's, you know, what are the technical bits that need to be in place in order to support it. But then there's the manufacturer end, or the venue, the store end, or whoever you're talking with, that you're trying to deal with them, and they're saying, oh yeah, you can include us, but then you've got to include our whole SDK, or you've got to do this, X, Y, and Z, and it's kind of like, well, wait a minute, that's maybe not the best option for the community. So you guys have to be like the punching bag for that and say, we're not going to support it.
More or less, yeah. Sometimes they just have to bite the bullet on things because, other third party, they just have something that we don't think is acceptable for our community, or just is too much of a technical hurdle to want to get around.
Support.
That said, if enough people want it and there's a user voice item and there's a lot of support for this, then we'll make it happen somehow if we can.
Like, we're not just going to shoot down something because it's hard. That would be totally unreasonable. But it's not. I wouldn't say that when we shoot down something, we usually have a good reason for it. Basically.
Sometimes, okay, so we have user voice, and everybody here on the panel is probably very familiar with it. But for those who aren't, you can go to submit your user voice request, and it's basically saying, hey, I want this feature. And then everybody gets to vote on it. And there, of course, there's hundreds of requests. I've lost count. There's, a lot of them. And of course, the engineers are already working on something. It's basically they've got something they have to support, something they're working on, and something they want to work on, right? Something that's the future working toward. And then there's feature requests. And so those feature requests come in, there's a bunch of those, and you got to figure out which one of those are viable requests and which one of those can actually be done and which one of those can't and which one of those makes sense. And there's, so what we do is we bring those conversations, those requests into the meetings every Monday. And we try to keep the meeting relatively short, relatively brief, to the point. And so we bring in 5, and sometimes there'll be 5 brand new requests. They may, and I mean brand new, like we haven't discussed them before. And those requests might be old requests. They may be freshly submitted by the community, whatever. And then some of those requests might be things that we talked about, 2 or 3 weeks ago that we're now bringing back up just to see if the status has changed, to see if we can move things forward. So I bring all that up to say that, we listen to what you guys are asking for. So if you want something, please submit it through user voice, and we will talk about it here and try to figure out where it fits in. And I think it's, we talked about a few things today that, we brought them back around. We were kind of like, hey, we talked about this previously, but let's talk about it again. And so it's interesting to see. So if you guys want that stuff, you gotta submit it, and you gotta vote it up. You gotta let us know. And sometimes sometimes the requests are like, very thin, very minimal on details. And we'll bring them up in a meeting, and everybody's like
add Bluetooth support.
Right.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, that's a good one. Yeah,
it's more complicated than you make it sound.
Yeah. The first user voice request was like, let's have Bluetooth support. And from talking with the engineers, I don't know anything about the Bluetooth spec, but from talking with the team, it's a big spec, right? I mean, it covers a lot of things. So eventually we all talked about it, and then we were all like, we all said, let's just say no on that one. And so we closed it out so that the user voice item, the people's votes for that could go back to the people, and they could vote for something else. Well, those Bluetooth items came back, but this time they came back as more specific items, like Bluetooth for, serial, and Bluetooth for peer-to-peer, right? And it got broken down, and it became more succinct, and that helps. That helps a lot.
It definitely does.
So, what are you doing? What's Ed? What are you laughing about, Ed? He's getting another phone call. Who's getting another phone call? No, I wasn't me. It was time to write in my journal.
You got all these things coming in your phone.
I know it. It's terrible. I had all this stuff coming in on my phone, and now I've got HipChat and all these other things blowing up on the computer. Okay, well, you guys have any other questions for these two? Because I mean, we're kind of at an hour now, which we had said early on when we kind of coordinated on this. We were going to do half and half. We were going to talk with the engineers, and then we were going to do. Yeah, I know, Barry. That never works out. But do you guys have questions? Any last minute thoughts? Because like I said, this is it.
I've got a question.
Halfway across the country to sit in the office with these guys.
Well, we've got a little echo thing going on.
Oh, we got a little echo thing going on. Hold on. Let me mute and unmute. Is that better?
Okay.
It might just be an internet thing.
My question was, back in the day before Ouya, or when Ouya came out, we had this problem where, well, let me frame it differently. Ouya came out, and there was a question of how do I get all this information into the manifest, right? So people solved that problem, and that problem is no longer an issue. But one of the things that still exists to some degree is sort of a little ambiguity, for me at least, on when I put something in build settings, where is it going to come out in my manifest? And so I'm raising this because I'm wondering if somebody there would sometime sit down and sort of like give us a guide that says, change this in the build settings, this is where it goes into the manifest. Just so we can kind of get a better mapping of how the different fields or entries in the build settings map to different manifest portions, or even other files, because I'm sure there's beyond. I'm not much of an Android guy, but you know, you got the manifest. I'm sure you got other files too that are affected by build settings. So homework,
Okay, so
I get.
Thoughts on that?
In your build settings, there's mostly just the activity section and the permissions section.
Yeah, so you can add permissions. You can add most of the things that you would. As far as I know, you can actually add pretty much anything that would normally go into the manifest. Plus, the build settings can also do things like tell you if you want to use expansion files, for example, which isn't necessarily tweaked in build settings. But to answer your question, Ed, I mean, we could definitely be better about like showing you here's like the real mapping between what you put in build settings and what you get in your manifest. But for the most part, a lot of things that you put in your build settings, like I think it's close to almost a 100% tweakability.
With some exception, like the is game flag and the like supports TV flag. There's some like that's kind of a black box, right?
Yeah, that's true. Those things I would imagine.
But for the most part, everything else is like it's like the exact same string copied over.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be helpful for people transitioning into enterprise, just to see like, okay, now I can't use build settings and have to add things to my manifest. What exactly are the changes I need to make?
I was going to ask what the use case for this was, but yeah. So
yeah, that would be
I think one of the difficulties for me was always that with build settings, well, this is probably true of the P list and all that stuff. But
you're breaking up on us really
badly, eh? The problem was...
Barry, hold on, Ed. Hey, Barry, unmute and say something for me. You say you can hear him. You can hear Ed okay?
Yep. Am I coming across okay? My connection.
Oh, yeah, hold on a second. Hold on. It's on this end. Sometimes the audio drivers get funky. Give me just a second. Fix. I hope that didn't fix it. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does.
Cosmic rays. Cosmic rays. That's the reason for every weird bug, cosmic rays.
I don't think there's a good answer to them, though. There's I mean, we don't document everything. I think the easiest way to do it would just be to, I guess, turn off all the build settings, remove all the plugins, build the app, and then turn on everything and do a diff between the XMLs generated.
I mean, they could do it that way, but I think it's more what Ed was getting at was, why don't we have a guide to explain that? At least where it makes sense. I mean, I think that's a great idea, personally. So, yeah, I mean, I imagine that is probably a big hurdle. You know, don't really do native Android.
At the risk of
if you're using plugins, then
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, that's
a guide doesn't really help with
totally-
that.
Yeah, that's
It's
totally
almost just
different
like
thing.
part of the build process. You have to list out like this is the stuff we injected for you.
So yeah, I mean, we can't do it like 100%, but we can definitely explain like how some things in build settings get transitioned in your Android.
I'm gonna. I hate to do that. Let's see. I've tried all my audio settings and it still doesn't. It's still not working. So I kind of want to go out and come back, but then that's going to stop the meeting and kill the recording. Okay, so here's what we'll do. Yeah, so here's what we'll do. We'll say, yeah, you guys were saying that. What did you say? No need to continue. Shut up. No. Here's what we're going to say. You know, you guys were saying just a moment ago that it sounds like we need to provide some documentation on that, right? Which I think is a good point. Okay, if it doesn't exist, I'll talk to Brent because Brent's the documentation guy, right? And if it doesn't exist, then we can definitely look at making something up. But we don't make things up. We create something. And so here's the thing. If you have something like that, go to the user voice, feedback.coronalabs.com, and put it in as a user voice item, okay? I would say don't put it in as a bug report because it's not a bug, right? It's a feature. It's kind of a feature. It's kind of like, hey, you don't want to just put it into the code, but you're wanting this. I just got a message that says my CPU is affecting the meeting quality. Okay, so you want something to be created. So tell us that you want something like that to be created, because what happens is Brent is the documentation guy, but he's not, he just doesn't make these things up out of thin air. He's got to go and then talk to the engineers to get the details to put the thing together. So that then takes an engineer off of whatever they're working on because they had to talk to Brent. You see what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean those things don't have value, because once that's created, it goes out in the community. It benefits 300,000 developers, right? So let us know those types of things that you want, and we'll work it in as an item, just like a feature request, to get it created. So, all right, I think I'm going to stop us there because we're having some crazy audio issues, and I have a feeling that it's going to be on my end, and I don't want to torture the listeners at some point. And I think we've got enough from these guys. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for all you guys do. I'm just like in awe, right? I had the best job in the world. I can just be cheerleaders for geeks.
Well, thank you for your kind words.
Yeah. And there's the man, the myth, the legend.
What?
Sean. What? We're just wrapping up.
Okay.
So, you got anything you want to say?
No, I just didn't know where everyone went.
Yeah. We're all in here, hiding in here.
I actually do want to give kudos to Josh. I don't think he gets enough credit in these things. He's kind of reserved too.
Yeah.
Like, he puts in more hours here than I think anyone else. But
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I would have to agree. Josh really.
Yeah.
We should be thanking Josh for a lot more things than we probably do. So
Yeah. We started with him, and we got a lot. He was just like, so much information coming at him. It was amazing, and so.
Yeah, it's amazing how many things that you just knows off the top of his head.
Right.
At least can quickly throw up and be like, okay.
Yeah.
not to mention he puts in 12 hours days every day.
Yeah, really.
I keep trying to get him to take a vacation.
But he never takes vacation.
Yeah. He's a madman.
He is.
So that's good. That's good stuff. And that's one of the things people ask me. They ask me about the team. And they're like, hey, how's everybody? I'm like, are you kidding? This is the most dedicated bunch of people that I've ever worked with. I mean, it's one of the reasons, besides the platform itself, it's one of the reasons why I'm still here, right? I mean, quite honestly, because the team, everybody who's here wants to be here. Everybody who's here works on the weekends. They work at night. You send an email and you get 6 responses. You're like, it's amazing. And I've never been a part of anything like that before. And Perk is the same way. They're on the same level, which makes it a perfect fit organizationally. So you gotta
want it to work. I mean, it's
yeah.
There isn't anyone else to say about it.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, most people understand that most people show up at their job and try not to get fired so that they can pay their bills. But everybody that shows up here is here because they want to be here. I don't want to say that everybody would work for free, but they certainly work on things when they don't have to. So that's amazing. That's amazing. So yeah. All right. If you guys are at GDC, you're going to be at GDC, come by and see us. We're going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're going to be in San Francisco, and we want to talk to you. So come see us. And if you're not, we're going to take lots of pictures and lots of video, and we're going to share it out and all that kind of stuff like that. So, so yeah. You guys on the panel, hang on. I'm going to try to talk to you guys here in a minute, but I want to, like I said, I'm going to stop the recording. So, cool. Okay, cool. That's awesome, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Y'all are great. Get out.
Fine, jeez.
The love is over.
As soon as it's over. I want to do some fire about this thing.
All the mascot dropped.
There's pie. And now I got to go. They tell me there's pie. I don't know what's going on. It's like crazy. It's all crackly on this end, so that kind of sucks.
So if all other people are hearing me okay, then it's only your
I hope so, but I hope so. But here's the thing, though, is that I'm recording it, right? So you, Lurg, you just said something, and you're kind of crackly. Ed's kind of crackly, and I'm sure on this end it's going to be crackly as well. So you guys can hear me just fine.
Did we have a backup recording?
Was anybody recording besides just me? I don't think so. I don't think that would have.
You got to tell us, man.
I know it.
Well, this should have at least.
Time warp.
Maybe in the future that's what we'll do. We'll just I'll be like you, and you.
This is better already, though.
Yeah, by far.
Different.
By far.
Did you have two devices still going?
No. Am I
I
still
don't know
on
why that was happening. It was like this very delayed loop where it still got the feedback.
The echo was the microphone that Charles used.
Yeah,
now it's out of the way. It's much better.
Yeah, that's probably it.
It's better now, or?
Yeah, it's definitely better now. It's gone.
Okay, well, hold on. All I did was this.
Yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Now it's going to be echoing.
It's echoey now? But not echoey like here.
I don't know, buddy.
With this crackling, maybe it's got... the crackling solves the echoing.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's closer to the mic. Okay, I hope the recording comes through because that was a lot.
Let's try not to make it happen again.
Right.
Let's not try to reproduce it now.
Right. Okay.
Oh, now you did it.
What do you guys want to? I mean, we went an hour, and
yep.
So you want to save the two?
I'm fine with saving it. It's all ready, but I'm all set. But we can stop.
Okay.
You guys let it. I don't know. It's up to you guys.
I'd definitely have to stop, and I'd have to definitely reconnect because like I said, my machine's like something.
Do we need to do any editing on the interviews and cut some stuff to make it shorter?
Yeah, I can chop it. I can chop it down. I can, definitely.
If we chop it, we can make extra minutes for Ed to bring into Hangouts.
Yeah. Okay. And so it's totally up to you guys. I don't want to take up y'all's time. I'm here. I'll hang up and come back on, and then we can do the next segment if you want to. But you guys tell me. You it's your lives too.
Well,
I'm okay either way, really.
Barry.
I'm going to have to go, but it's go ahead.
Lurg, you're
if
like,
that's what you guys want to do.
It's like midnight, right? Could you do like another 20, 30 minutes?
It's midnight. It's my work time. It's the start of my work.
Okay.
I'm waking up now. Is what he's saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hang up.
Okay.
And then I think I will have to email you guys all a different link because it's not gonna be the same one. So okay. I'll hang up. I'll email you all the link, and then we'll get back on and we'll do the next segment.
Roger.
Okay.
Roger.
And I'll get coffee.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Say something again.
Roger.
And I will make coffee.
Yeah. See, now the audio's fixed.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was just an internet issue.
Or maybe you were compiling something on behind.
I don't think so. I mean, but yeah, I know what you're saying. I did say at some point that my CPU was not
Fogging it.
performing well. Yeah.
Maybe you have Skype open.
I'm going to close every app that I have open. Yeah.
Maybe somebody else there was streaming something in the office.
Yeah, it's
Could be.
Hold
During
on.
lunch, maybe somebody was streaming a movie or a show or something.
I doubt that. Like maybe a hangout.
Yeah.
Charles,
We
what's
caught them all in the 1 minute they were working. They were really all watching Netflix.
That's right.
This is
Okay, I'm gonna kill Chrome. That would probably save me a whole bunch of memory.
Usually, yeah.
Sergey, what was your question? I'm sorry. What was your question?
My question was, what was the internet connection in the office? Is it 100 megabits? Is it 1 G?
You know, I don't know for certain. I'm thinking maybe 50. But I could be wrong. I don't think it's I don't think it's like a really industrial grade connection or anything.
But if somebody was doing a big download or something,
Yeah.
Committing the next great version of Corona. Uh-oh, what did I just do?
They were just uploading to the Samsung store. That was all. What is it? 50 megs or something each time?
That's right. They were integrating the Samsung store. That's what happened.
Okay, I'm going to change
It's all my fault.
Yeah. Well, I blame you regularly, so don't worry about
No.
it. That's what I really told everybody was the tool is late because of Mike. That's what
It's
I
going to be better.
But it'll be better. It'll be better. No, I didn't give you any credit. Don't worry about it.
No, it's worth waiting for.
Well, I hope so. I know it will. Where am I?
All right, I'm going to put the put the headphones on just to make sure we don't have any echo.
Echo.
All right.
I've got to go, so I'll catch you guys later.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
No problem. Bye.
Yep. I was going to say, he's having the same problem I had. I never know how to hang up this thing. Oh, that's not it.
I just switched the computer off. It works for everything.
There we go. That'll shut down the connection. No problem. Excellent. I'll keep that in mind when I want to, save all the rest of my work too. Thanks. Got to corrupt everything all in one fell swoop.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay? Not that it matters, but can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you just.
Shut up. You.
What? Helen.
Okay. Well, I'm good whenever you're good, and
Okay. Can you see my screen?
I can, and yeah, so both of them, the code and the game.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's all one window. I just spread it out there. So I'm going to do this quick. So what do we got? That was a teaser before you should have seen it. Oh, let's get rid of this. This doesn't belong here. Shh, it's a secret. Okay. So last week, was it last week or just a couple days ago, Charles wrote me and he said, Ed, do you have anything technical for the show? He was very specific. And I'm like, technical? What do you mean technical? Most of what I talk about is technical. Anyways, long story short, what he meant is do you have something to show on the show, the Hangout, that would be useful to people? And I said, yeah, sure. I'll dust something off out of my collection. And the thing that I wanted to dust off, that I did end up dusting off, was an old example that I did about steering, two-touch steering. Well, I said it was two-touch. In truth, when I looked at the code, it was one-touch. So bear with me. And Charles said that would be cool because this game has recently been featured by Apple. And it was basically a two-touch steering game. And so if you haven't played it, you should go out and get it. It's a game from BoomBit. And it's called Cops and Robbers. And basically what it is, it's just a simple, let me see if I can get this game going in 2 seconds here. You run your little dude around and you pick up gold or whatever it is these guys drop without running into those guys, which kills you. And that's the whole game, basically. I mean, there's more to it. There's slightly more. There's more mechanics that evolve as you go along. And then you die. So the question is, get rid of the air server there, is how would you make a game like that in Corona, and how hard would it be? Well, the answer is very simple to make the mechanic, and I'll just let the cat out of the bag. In this example, I'm going to show you guys the first one, which is the basic implementation of the mechanic, but I'm going to skip ahead to what I call the micro game, which is it's the same mechanic, but now you've got wrapping and steering and pickups, which is if I can learn how to click, which is basically everything in here is like sort of like what you were seeing in the game. I've got a little dude that I can steer around. I got things I'm supposed to pick up and run into. And I've got wrapping. I don't think I showed you that, but the character wraps. Basically, it's a single screen camera, and the player can walk from one edge to the other and come back on. And this is basic. This is the core of their game. I mean, the mechanic. Yeah, they got better art, and they've got all the layer of interfaces and ads and all the other stuff that's layered on top. But if we just talk about core mechanics, that's basically it. The only thing that is missing is enemy generation. So we got the pickups. All we need is the enemies that I run into that would kill me. And that is the beauty of Corona, is that all of that code to do that is just 260 lines of code. And that's not even 260 lines. There's a lot of like blank lines and comments in here. If I took all the comments and blank lines, that would probably come to be like, I don't know, 180 lines of code, something like that. So anyways, I just wanted to point that out because I always find it encouraging that even games, I mean, you see these games and you think, I don't know how long it took them to do that, but really the fundamental mechanics are extremely simple to code.
Now,
it's a question of layering the other stuff on top to make it into an interesting game.
I was going to ask, is that 180 lines of code like, super optimized pocket protector sort of code, or is that
not really? I mean, that's not being entirely fair. There is one little tiny bit in here that is more, which is the Math 2D library, which is my own implementation of a bunch of 2D mathematics. But even if we add that, that's actually the 2D math library, which I don't even use at all. I use like 2 or 3 functions out of the whole thing. That's only an additional 400 lines of code. So for doing math, I know it's a challenge for me, doing like about 500 to 600 lines of code, no matter how you peel it, that ain't a lot of code to write to get a game, or to get the core mechanic out of a game, to extract it. So this is one of the things I like about BoomBit. I'm going off course here. Is I've noticed that a lot of their games have a very basic mechanic. They have like one core mechanic that they really hone in on, and they do like their own version of like BoomBit art, and then that's it. That's the whole game. So all their games kind of have similar art and packaging, and then they focus on one mechanic. And I like that because it's smart. They do a mechanic, they release a game. They do another mechanic, they release a game. I think I made a note about this in Slack, which was it's like last time I looked a couple months ago, they had like 5 games. Now I look 10 games. I'm like, wow, I need to iterate like that. So, okay, so let's look at the code before I lose everybody here. This code will be available. We'll have a link after the show, and there's going to be 4 versions. Let me get the thing up here. It's going to be in the tips and tricks section in case people are just going to go directly to my Git. And under 2-touch steering, and there are 4 folders. One is called 2-touch. The next one is called wrapping, and that adds the border wrapping so you can walk off one side of the screen and come back on the other. And then because we're going to use collision detection, because I'm lazy and I'm not Barry, I don't do, I don't calculate the overlap, although I could do that. I use physics for the pickup collision because it's just easier to code quicker. So I added physics functionality. I took it from what you're going to see in the first example to using physics for movement and collision. And then the 4th one is the micro game that I just showed you with the pickups working and the score and stuff like that. And for people who are going to follow along in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th examples, it's critical that you understand that all I did was I took the original example and I commented out lines or added additional lines. So you will be able to compare these with like a diff tool or some other code comparison tool to see the progressive differences between the examples as they get more complex. But in our first example, it's all in one piece of code here. Main Lua. I don't know if you can read that. Maybe make it a little bigger. Basically, what I did here is I require at the very top the Math 2D library because I need to do some 2D math for figuring out which direction the character is pointing so that I can do the walking in the right direction at the right speed. Or not walking, but moving in the right direction. So instead of doing it by hand, I just pulled the Math 2D library down. And it's worth noting for folks that this is a local copy, so you don't have to use the plugin, but it's the same code as the plugin provides. So if you were curious about what the code looks like for the Math 2D plugin that you would normally get, you can just download this example and look at the code, and you can dig into it if you're curious about how the 2D math is done. Top of the file still. I like to do little shorthand, what I call shorthand helpers, or just variables that help me type more quickly. So I've got W for width, and in this case, I mean the actual width. So no matter what device I'm simulating or running on, this is going to be the actual width of the device. Height, actual content height. CX, CY for center X and center Y. And then left, right, top, and bottom, just because it's useful for me to know the different locations of the edges of the screen. I may not actually even use these in the example, but this is the kind of thing where I just keep it in my toolbox and I just paste it in. And that way I don't have to work too hard when I'm typing later. So the essence of the parts of this, let me go back to the example that makes more sense. Let's go back to example 1. So what you're seeing on the screen here, I do apologize that I made this after the fact. I realized I should have made this landscape so I can make it bigger. But what you're seeing is a rectangle on the left, which is what I call a touchpad, and a rectangle on the right, which is a touchpad. And they come through very faint. So let me click on them so you can see them. So we got the one on the right. When I click it, it's for steering my car in the rightward direction. And I got one on the left. So this is what I mean when I say two-touch. Two-touch, in this case, is tied specifically to two elements on the screen you're touching. But the concept behind two-touch, one-touch, joystick, whatever is, you're saying how many input elements are there that control the mechanic. You're not talking about like, how many buttons do I have on my menu? Do I have a mute button? No, we're talking about purely the mechanics inputs. So if this was a one-touch game, one touch would be the input, and one touch would be used to control the mechanic. Two-touch means I got two fingers on the screen at any one time. That's as much as I'm going to be touching to affect how the vehicle or the object in the game moves and reacts to the environment. So, as I always do, almost always do, is I like to use events. I like to use custom events to, no, that's not working. This is messing me up a little bit because I can see myself talking over here, so I'm going to stop looking at my face. I like to use custom events, and the reason I do that is because I want to disconnect the code that is doing the processing of the touch from the code that is actually responding to that touch and doing some work. And so, in a nutshell, what I've got is two rectangles that each have a touch listener. When you click on the rectangle, it produces a custom event, which gets thrown out into the ether. It's a runtime event, and then I need to reload it here. When that event goes out, the car, my little rectangle here, is listening for that event. It catches it, it does something about it, and then there is an enter frame listener attached to the car that is moving the car forward. And basically it says, if I got the turn right event, then I need to start rotating the character and moving in a rightward direction, or moving in the direction I'm facing, but also rotating at the same time. If I got the turn left event, then I need to start rotating to the left, but to continue moving forward. So let's go ahead and
conceptually, though, it's really rotating around a center point, right? We don't see that, but that's what it's doing.
Right. Well, okay. So if I don't click, the enter frame listener is moving the car in the direction it's pointed, a certain number of pixels per frame. That's all it's doing.
Yep.
let me put the wrapping one on so I don't have to keep doing this. So basically the car is just moving forward. If it's pointing up, it moves up. If it's pointing sort of up and to the right, it moves up and to the right. Now what you're also seeing here is an example of the wrapping code in action, and I made the wrapping boundary smaller than the screen so you could see the wraparound. Now normally the wrapping would be larger than the screen so you wouldn't notice this horrible abrupt disappearing, reappearing act going on. But the point is without steering inputs, all the car is doing is moving in the current direction it is facing at a fixed velocity. But as soon as I start to steer, I was really trying to catch that. I was really trying to catch that when it wasn't flipping. There we go.
It's a game all in itself.
Yeah, just keep it from flipping around the screen. So when I'm steering, really what's occurring is the car is saying, the code is saying, rotate a little bit, keep moving forward. Rotate a little bit, keep moving forward. And so there's two parts going on. There's the part that rotates the rectangle, or car, whatever you want to call it. And then there's the part that moves forward. And it's the 2D math. That's where the 2D math comes in. It says, oh, you're pointing to the right at 15 degrees. Let me get the vector for that, calculate it, and move in that direction. Oh, and now you're pointing at 16 degrees. What's the direction? How do I move at that? How do I move forward from there? So it gives you the impression that it's rotating about a point. But really, it's steering. It's changing the direction that it wants to move in the sense that it is moving in its forward direction. I think of it as the forward direction, the direction that the rectangle is pointing.
So are you saying that it's not calculating that from a center point, like you know?
It is not.
Okay, so it's okay.
No, it is not. There's no center point. The center point is the center of the object itself.
Okay.
If I didn't have the forward movement going, in fact, I could demonstrate this. Why don't I just set the movement rate to 0? So now it's not going to move forward at all. And then let's reload the original example. Now when I steer, you can see it's simply rotating the rectangle. That's all it's doing. But as soon as if I were to change the movement rate, then it would be rotating and trying to move in the direction it's facing at that moment. So it gives you the impression of rotating about a point or something, but that's not what's going on.
Okay.
So let's put this back up, and I'll walk you through the code real fast so people can understand how this works. All right, so helper code. We're going to have a listener for when we touch the rectangles, and I just called it on-pad touch. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to have one touch listener that I use twice. We have a function here for what I call making the steering pads, and the steering pads are, again, these buggers right here, the two rectangles, and I just stretched them right across the top of the screen so you can touch anywhere, bottom to top. If you're a weirdo and you want to, put your fingers at the top of the phone, by all means. I knew I'd get a couple of laughs. Okay. How do we? That's right. I wouldn't put that as a selling point in my game. If you're a weirdo, you can put your fingers at the top of the screen. But okay, so that's the steering pads. Then I need a function to make my car, which is this little yellow dude right here. So that's make car. Now I'll come back and walk through these, and that's it. So at the end there, I've written all these functions. It's all in main Lua. I'm not using any modules or anything like that. It's all not very modular code. I just want people to be able to see all the functional code in one place. So I call make steering pads, and that draws these two rectangles, attaches the listeners, does all the little magic there, and makes car, make car, and then I say place the car at the center X position, vertical X right there, right in the center of the screen, and then make it put it 50 pixels off the bottom. So if I wanted to put it in the center, I just do that, reload this, and then it starts off in the center of the screen. So let's walk through how these things work. I'm going to show you make steering pad first, and then I'll roll back up to the touch listener. So make steering pad, super simple. I make a left pad, which is basically a new image rect, and this is a trick I like to use. One of the things that's a challenge with Corona, I do this all the time, is oftentimes I want to have an input, an object on the screen that I'm touching, but I don't want to see it. I want to have like an invisible button. Well, okay, you would think, all right, no problem. I'll make a rectangle. I'll hook up my touch listener. I'll make it white to start so I can see where to click. It's all working. Then I'll set the alpha to 0, or I'll make it visible as false. And as soon as you do that, the button stops working. And most people go, oh, what happened? My button's not working. And then they realize, that's a setting. What I can do is I can set is hit testable to true, which means you can touch it even if it's not visible or if the alpha is 0. But this is a problem. Is hit testable is a problem if you've got a situation where later on you're like, well, it's covered by something and now I don't want you to be able to hit it. I don't want you to be able to touch it. I only want you to be able to touch it when I want you to be able to touch it. So like, for example, let's say you got a interface and then you want to do, you want to put an overlay on top of that. And at that point, you don't want people to be able to drop through and touch the buttons. So you think, oh, I would just hide the content. No, sorry, buddy. You set is hit testable to true. I don't care what you do. That button will always be touchable, even if it's not visible, no matter what you do at that point. So the trick is to just avoid the problem in the first place. What I do instead, and this is a little thing you see in all of my code, is I have these two little tiny 1 pixel by 1 pixel or 16 pixel by 16 pixel textures. One is called fill white, fill W, and the other one is called fill T for fill transparent. So when I want to make a button that I eventually want to be invisible or not shown, I create an image rectangle of any size that I need, however big that button needs to be, and I use the fill white texture. So I can see where it is on the screen, so I can get the positioning right. Then, when I'm happy, I simply say fill T. Textures now using is the alpha is 0, but this is not the same as setting the alpha of the rectangle to 0. This is the internal encoding of the texture. So even though I can't see it, it's still touchable. So this is like the benefits of is hit testable without the nasty side effects. So just a little tip for people who are like, this is a pain in the neck. I mean, there's many other ways to solve this problem, but this is one of the ones I find the simplest to do. Okay, so left pad basically is a rectangle that stretches half the width. It's going to be using fill white. Width is going to be half the width of the full screen. Height is going to be the entire height. And then I use a trick. I set the anchor X to be 0. In other words, anchor this rectangle to the left side of wherever I tell it to put it. And I say, put the X position on the left side of the screen. And with anchor X, that basically says abut this rectangle to the left side of the screen. It's a very simple way to do it. You know, it takes all the math out of it. You don't have to think about it at all. And then vertically, keep the anchor at 0.5 and just put it in the center of the screen. So this rectangle on the left is anchored to the left side of the screen and in the center of the screen. Then I changed the alpha a little bit for this example just to make it, because I was going to continue to show the rectangle because I wanted to make that point about the tip. Let's see. And I'll get back to the steering value in a minute. Right pad, same thing. Fill white, half the width of the screen, full height of the screen. The X position is going to be the right side of the screen, which means I need to make the anchor X 1. In other words, anchoring to the right edge of the rectangle and put it on the right side of the screen, again taking all the math out. So the only thing left to do here is attach a touch listener, which is what I do right here. I assign on pad touch, which is the function I'm going to show you from above, to the touch field. And then I say left pad add event listener touch. And that's all there is to it. At that point, Corona will look in there and say, there's a field called touch. It points to a function. I know what to do with that. Now when you touch, I will call on pad touch. The other thing is steering values. So the way I chose to do this was very simple. When you touch the left rectangle, an event is going to go out called on steer, I believe. I'll check in a minute. An on steer will be received by the car. It's going to come with the name, which is on steer, and the steering value. So a negative steering value will mean turn to the left. A positive steering value will mean turn to the right. And so when you begin the touch, the left pad will send out a -1. And then when you release the touch, you don't want to steer left anymore. It will send out a +1. So the way it works is -1 comes in, we add -1 to our steering value. Now we're steering left. Then you stop touching. Somebody sent me a message on Slack. If you stop touching, now I'm doing it, Charles. Sorry, Charles. This is the problem with modern technology. You know, you get like so many inputs.
That's it.
That's why I turn off all my devices when I'm doing these things, because it's just like impossible. So you begin the touch, -1. You end the touch, the value comes in as the opposite. I add it, and now the total value is 0, i.e. I am not steering. So this will become more apparent in a minute. So left pad is a steering value of -1, and the right pad is a steering value of +1. This is the value that will get sent out on the beginning of the touch. So let's look at the touch listener. Very, very simple. It takes a self argument and an event, because I'm using the table listener variant of touch, or I'm sorry, of add event listener. So when you do it this way, the implication is the function will take a implied self and an event. So self is the object that the event is being called upon. So first thing I do is I extract the phase and the touch ID. And what you're seeing here is some very rudimentary code. You see it all the time. And what it does is it ensures that no matter what happens, let me just show you. If I click here, and then I move my cursor around, I'm still clicking, all those input events are still going to that rectangle. What I didn't want was that they would click and move and no longer be touching the rectangle, and the ended phase would be lost. So what I'm doing is setting the focus for all those inputs that are still going in are being sent to this rectangle. And so even when my cursor is over here, or my finger if it was on a device, and I release, that event still goes to this and does the ended phase. Because what could occur is imagine, if I didn't get both the begin and the end phase, then I could steer left but not get the end, and then steer left again, and it'd be steering twice as much to the left. So it would be -2, -3, -4. It'd only get the leftward starting part and not the undone steering to the left. So the simple solution is to use a little bit of code to set the focus, to make sure that we are going to send all remaining touches for that touch, that instance, that finger, to the listener that is already currently listening for this event. And then I say set focus is true, and this is just a flag for my internal code. And so phases began, we set the focus, I mark my flag as true. I change the alpha so I have a little bit of visibility feedback. You can see it highlight a little bit. And then I dispatch an event, but I'll get back to this. So more events now will start to come in, and it's no longer phases began, it's like moved or ended. And so I look and I say, are you the focus? Has this button already taken the focus? And this is my personal flag. This has nothing to do with Corona. It's just sort of like how everybody does it. Somebody wrote an example a long time ago, and we all do it this way now. So yes, the focus is set. This is, you're talking to me. Okay, what is the phase? Is it ended or is it canceled? Which is, canceled is, it's like an ended, but it's a special case where the event could not be completed for some reason, and the operating system or Corona said, this is done, you must finish this event. So it's sort of like an ended, but it's more of like a system ended, the touch event. So then I clear the focus, I clear my flag, I change the alpha back to what it used to be. In other words, I undo the highlight, and then I dispatch another event. So it's these events that are doing the steering. So I dispatch an event called untouched steer, and I send the steering value out. So if it's the left, what this is going to do is send a -1. So we'll have an on-touch event, on-touch steer, with a -1 steering value. Then when we release, I send out the on-touch steer with the invert of the steering value, so a +1 in this case. And then let's go ahead and search for this code. We'll look at the car builder in a second, but the on-touch steer is an event, a custom event, stop searching, that I attached to my car, and it's just a simple function, car, on-touch steer, self event, and it says phase, which is not even used. I don't know why I put that in there. It's a one-liner. It says, take the steering value that was sent in the event and add it to the steering value of the car. So the steering value of the car starts at 0. Let's say you touch the left pad. It's the began phase, so the event's going to be -1 plus 0. Current steering value is -1. When the user lifts their finger, another event will come in. This will be a +1, so +1 plus the current value, which is -1, and now it's 0. So start steering to the left, stop steering to the left. So all that's left is to understand how the car itself is created and moves. So we've looked at the make steering pads and the on-pad touch, the input for the touch pads. Let's look at making the car. So the function to make the car takes 2 arguments, X and a Y position. And as you'll recall, that's just so I can choose where to put the car when it starts in the game. So now I've chosen to move the car off 50 pixels from the center and in the center of the vertical position there at CY. Let's put that back. All right, so I put the controls right in here. So I've got a couple of variables in here that control how fast the car moves. Move PPS is basically move at 50 pixels per second. So PPS is pixels per second. And then rotate DPS is basically rotate at some number of degrees per second. And we'll use those in a minute. And I'll show you some changes to that so you can see how that affects the speed of movement and rotation. For our example, the car is just going to be a simple rectangle. So I create a rectangle, I place it at the X and Y that was passed in. I make it 15 pixels wide, 24 pixels tall. And then I set the color to yellow. Or I could set it to cyan if I like that. Just to show you what's going on here. So now it's cyan colored. All right, so the next bit is we need the steering value. So I initialize the steering value to 0. It's not steering. And I keep track of a timer value. And the reason I do this is I'm using the enter frame listener to do all my calculations, but the enter frame listener does not come consistently on a fixed time period. So if it's set to 30 frames per second, that means that theoretically, every frame is 33.3333 milliseconds long. But in fact, what happens is one frame might be 30 milliseconds, another frame might be 35 milliseconds. And so if you're relying upon the enter frame to come along consistently, and you're doing a movement based on that, and you don't account for the fact that it doesn't come along at the same period, you're going to get glitchy movement. You're going to get movement where it jumps, or it's visually unpleasing. So the trick is instead of relying upon enter frame to occur consistently, is to say, how long was it since the last enter frame? What is my rate of movement? And do a calculation that says, well, at that rate of movement, multiplied by how long it's been, this is how far I actually moved from the last frame. So last frame I moved a short distance, but then it was a long time, so now I have to move a longer distance. And because this gets rendered, what you're going to see is no matter how it comes out, the rendering is going to be, how do I say this? If there's a longer duration, then there'll be more movement, but it will be smoother because you're rendering this stuff consistently. I don't know how to say that properly. How would you? Charles is here to put the right words in my mouth.
Normalizing it.
Say again?
You kind of normalize it.
Well, yeah, you're normalizing it. Yeah, the core element here is because enter frame is inconsistent. If you rely upon that purely, without checking how long it's been, you're going to get dodgy movement. You're going to get movement that is inconsistent and glitchy. It's going to move in bursts, and it's going to be completely wrong visually. I mean, it could be completely wrong. In fact, this is one of the things that new people, when they first start coding, complain about. So, getting back to it, I create my vehicle. The first thing I do is I say, what's the current time? And I put that in a field called last time. Now I attach an enterframe listener, and that just takes the argument self. And so before I look at the code, basically I attach the code, and then I say runtime add event listener, listen for enterframe, and listen on car. Car now has a field called enterframe. So Corona is smart enough to say, okay, you want me to listen for this event? Does this object have a field that matches that event name? Yes, it does. That's the function I will call every frame. So that's just the logic of how this works for people who don't know that already. So the enterframe listener itself, interestingly, as soon as you attach it, it runs right away. Doesn't matter. That's one thing I've discovered. Now this maybe has changed, but the last time I checked, as soon as you attach the enterframe listener, it runs right away. So the first frame is kind of like useless. And the reason it's useless is because it's the same time as I set my timer to. So what's going to happen is current time is going to come in. It's going to get the timer value. It's going to be the same as last time. So the delta time, the DT, is current time minus last time. There'll be no difference. It'll be 0. And everything in the first calculation will come out to be 0 movement. No big deal. However, let's assume that this is a subsequent frame. So DT is probably going to be like 30, 35, some small value like that. And this is milliseconds. If you've got it set to 30 frames per second, if you set your frame rate to 60, it's going to be like 16, 17 milliseconds. So now we've got a delta time. The very first thing I do after that is I store the current time as my last time. So the next time I come around, I can get a new delta time. And then I divide the delta time by 1,000 to get it into milliseconds, which is the, what's the word I'm seeking here? Can't think of it. Not multiple, but anyway, we're working in milliseconds. So I need to get this number into milliseconds. Then I will decide how much am I going to rotate and how much am I going to move. So let's do the move first. Move is simpler. So I move by the pixels per second multiplied by the delta time in milliseconds. So I don't know how much simpler to say that. Basically what we're doing is we're saying we move this number of pixels per second, but it's been this fraction of a second has gone by. So if it's let's say 100 milliseconds went by for whatever reason, then we would get 1/10 of the movement of this value. So it would take 10 of those to get one full move for 1 second's worth. Similarly, rotate by is the delta time multiplied by our base rotation rate, which is rotate degrees per second, and then multiplied by the steering value. So initially the steering value is 0, but if we click on the left tab or the left steering pad, then it's -1. So it's going to be -1 multiplied by the rotation rate multiplied by the delta time. In other words, steer to the minus angular direction. So subtract a certain number of degrees, rotate to the left. If we had clicked on the steering pad to the right, it would be positive and we would be adding degrees to our rotation. So now we have how much we want to rotate by, how much we want to move by. Now let's do the actual rotation. So we set the rotation of the object to the current rotation plus the delta, which is rotate by. And then we have a little bit of code here, which is not required, but I like to, what's called normalized rotation. And so Corona supports rotations beyond 360 degrees in either direction. It doesn't care. You can have 30 million degrees, and it would know what to do. However, most of the math libraries have a certain level of tolerance, and that's not the right word. But where you put too many degrees of rotation one way or the other and you do a math calculation, the numbers get too big, you're going to start getting errors. You're going to get slight inconsistencies in your output. So in order to avoid that and some other technical issues that come with degrees and rotations, just normalize your value. And so what I'm doing here is I'm saying basically, if the rotation is greater than 360, greater than 360, then just subtract 360. We've rotated beyond 360. Because if you think about it, 10 degrees plus 360 degrees is the same as 10 degrees. So if I've rotated 370 degrees and I subtract 360, I'm still rotated at 10. 370 and 10 are the same rotation. Likewise, if I've rotated to less than 0, so I'm in the negative zone, I add 360. So I keep a nice rotation between 0 and 360 degrees. Okay, now given that I have the rotation, the way this game, this pseudo game, is supposed to work is the car is supposed to move forward. And forward means whatever direction you're pointing in. So finally we come to the part where we do the 2D math. And the 2D math here is basically we take the angle, which is the rotation of the vehicle, we convert that into a vector, which is a mathematical value that tells us the direction we're pointing in, and a magnitude. And a magnitude is like how fast we're moving or how long the vector is. In this case, the magnitude of this vector is going to be 1. It's going to be what's called a unit length vector. We take that vector, and then we scale it to the move by. So in other words, if we're pointing up, our vector is going to be 0, minus 1. With 0x, no movement left or right, and minus 1 moving in the upward direction. So we want to take that, and let's say we're moving at 100 pixels. We'd like to move 100 pixels. So to get that, we take our vector and we scale it by 100. In other words, we multiply the x and the y portion by 100. And what would come out would be 0 minus 100. Then we take that scaled vector and we add the x portion to our current position, our x position, and we add the y portion to our current y position. And now we've got an offset. So if our character was at 0, 0 for our car, and then we did this and we were moving at 100, we would now be at 0 minus 100 y. And so on and so forth. Of course, we're going to be moving a fraction of that per frame to get a nice smooth movement. But this is the basic concept. And that is basically it. So to demonstrate this, let me get the wrapping one on here so that I don't have to keep reloading. You know what? I'll just forget it. So I'm going to set the movement rate to very low. So move at 5 pixels per second. Reload it, and as you can see, there's hardly any movement at all. Then I'm going to set the steering rate to 360 degrees per second, which is really high. And now, super high rotational rate when I steer. So let's make our guy move a little bit faster. Let's make it 100. And let's go ahead and put this at minus bottom. What is it? Bottom minus 50. And let's reload it. And now we got a crazy. It's still way too much. There's way too much rotation. This car is rotating on a dime. Although when you see the original game, this is actually about what they do. They really turn the character. So, which gives it kind of an interesting mechanic in itself, in that it's so twitchy you can kill yourself when you're trying to avoid the bad guys, and you're like, oh, steered right into them. But let's make this movement a little more reasonable. So let's try 180, and let's move at 200. So I'm doubling my forward velocity and halving my rotational velocity. And now, this to me feels much more natural. I mean, it's way too fast, but as far as like the balance between how fast can I steer and how quickly do I move forward, the balance is much more natural to me. So we've lost Charles. There's no ending. The show is not ending today, folks. Charles, I don't know what he's doing. Charles has never walked away in the middle of one of my technical things here. So
Just talk about something else.
Are you there, Charles? He is not. All right, guys, that's it. Did you have any questions? Okay, so I just wanted to point. Go
About
ahead.
360 thing, you had a couple of statements. You can replace them with one modular operator. Which
Say
is,
again? Are you saying I can replace this with one line of code?
yes, it's operator with a percent sign.
Would that work for negative numbers?
Yes, it does.
Ah, learn something new every day.
Self-rotation plus rotate by, all of that in brackets, homogeneous 360.
Type it into the text. I'll do it.
Okay.
Type it, we test it, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not going to test it live because I don't want my computer to explode. I'll type it into the code so people can see it. Somebody's calling us. Okay. I'm taking it now. This is our untested code. Users who are watching, this may or may not work, but this is the basic premise.
Try it now. Why not?
Well, I won't be able to see the value. Let me let me print out self-rotation so we can.
Line 112 also.
Yeah.
100, 100, 100?
112.
Yeah.
112. Oh, yeah. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so we've taken 3 lines of code. Super programmers. And am I still showing you my code? I must be. At line 100. And let me hide code on my screen. Let's reload this. Let's get the thing here printing out the X and Y value. Okay, 0. Oh, look at that. Okay, the rightward one works. As you can see, you can maybe barely read that. So those are all good. Now I'm going to reload it. I'm going to steer left. Bingo bongo. You guys are awesome. Wow. Totally. Oh, that's going in my library of tricks. I knew this too. I use the modulo operator all the time, but I just didn't think about using it for a negative value. I always use it for positive numbers. I guess that shows a gap in my education.
The other idea I was having, Ed, was about the wrapping. Because
Yes, sir.
you remember when you showed the version with just the rectangle, smaller than the screen, and you said you want it larger than the screen so you don't see it disappear from one side and reappear on the other. Well, the problem with that is that gives you like a border around the screen area where you can't actually see the car. It's technically play area, but it's outside the visible area. What I would do is and this sounds a little bit more complicated, but I would have 4 versions of the rectangle and you update the graphics individually and you offset them by the screen width and the screen height. So you actually have 1, 2, 3, 4 versions, only one of which is real, but then when you move it near the edge, the copies appear on the other edge, so it actually visually looks like it's wrapping immediately. And then you can maintain all of the gameplay within the viewable area of the screen, which I think probably makes more sense because it is, with your current method, it's actually possible to drive vertically up one of the borders so the car is
to lose your vehicle.
Yeah.
You're like, where'd my car go?
Yeah.
The problem with your technique.
In one of my projects, I used this method. So I had one Lua object which was playable and going in all the directions, and it had 4 representations of the screen. So and they all interacted all together, and they were all calling to the same collision listeners and touch listeners. So it wasn't too much problem to set them up.
I have to think about it. That's a good idea. I understand exactly what you're saying. This is, you're pointing out one of the, I wrote a long time ago, is Charles's favorite game that I ever wrote, which was Infiniteroids. Had that exact problem, which is the only way to get a nice visual aesthetic without doing any heavy lifting was simply to make the wrap border bigger than the screen. But then you would lose, you'd always have that one stray asteroid that was like doing a vertical thing. You're like, the screen's clear. Why am I not transitioning? Well, that's because I got one asteroid that's floating in the border. You know, it's, what do they call that for Superman? What's that? The the phantom zone, you know. It's like, where is that asteroid? So you're just like shooting all the borders going, I know it's out there somewhere.
Yeah. It does
Whereas
complicate things. You need to, or it can slow things down. You need to keep 4 copies of each sprite on screen.
Yeah.
It also means that if you're very close to the left edge and you're checking an actual area, like the size of the ship rather than, say, a point of a bullet, you need to check on the other edge as well. You can't forget that every value has to wrap.
Right,
But,
right. Well, that's where Sergey's value comes in, is the the common listener.
Yeah. Also, it's a very good place to use the modulus operator. So it's the width of the screen more. But anyway, it's a little bit of extra effort to set up, but it means that the game is visually more accurate, or it's more what you would expect, let's say.
Yeah, hold on. I'm stop sharing here. I was going to say Charles missed it, but I got taught. I got learned. I got whatever, you know. These guys gave me the yeah. They said, "Well, we can turn your 3 lines of code into 1, buddy."
I think we actually only added 6 characters. Hang on, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we only added.
I'm sorry. We turned 3 lines of code into 6 characters. There we go.
Not 3, 2 of them.
Not to make me look like an idiot or anything, but you know, hey.
Well, see, that's my favorite thing about Zoom is we can get all these thumbnails on here, and they can all tell you how you're doing it wrong.
So there it is. How I was doing. Oh, you can't see my code anymore. Yeah, that's right. Now I'm doing that wrong. Oh man.
Okay, so I had to step away for just a second.
That's okay.
So
we made fun of you while you were gone. You can cut that part out later.
Oh, good. I'll watch that later. So did I miss any? I mean, not did I miss anything? Are we done?
Yeah.
Did you finish? I didn't.
No, we haven't even started yet. We were waiting for you. Yeah, we're done. Finito.
Oh, good. So I'll put links in the show notes then, and
I'll send you a link to the code.
You know, I think I'm looking forward to this example because when I played Cops and Robbers on Apple TV, it's totally different, of course, on Apple TV because you're using the little
hand controller.
Yeah, the little whatever they're the newer one, the newer controller. Yeah, there you go, that one. And it's kind of weird because you hold the controller like this, and then of course this isn't the right controller, but then you have like this input, and then you have like these other inputs, and it's just weird. It actually is a lot better on the device, on a like an iPhone or a Kindle.
I'm still struggling with that. I'm still struggling with because there's the 2 basic orientations, the portrait and then the landscape way.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, what's the most natural way for my user? I keep imagining the guy who's playing Apple TV is some guy who's like the beer belly. He's sitting back in his lounger. He's got this thing, and it's like, that's it, man. If I can't hold it like this, I ain't playing that game, man. You're like, okay, but that loses all the buttons. It's like, you're gonna have to play like a kid, which is sideways.
Yeah, and it's a little weird. It's a little weird for sure.
I think it's hard to hold sideways because it's so small.
It's a little awkward.
Yeah.
This is where I wish we had a uniform way of getting, and which is I'm working on, but a little bit later after the tool, which is getting our iPads or iPhones to be controllers too.
Yeah, we actually talked about that. It's I want to know what you come up with because we talked about that in the engineering meeting today, and because that was a user voice request, and one of the things that basically Vlad said he did a lot of research on it, trying to figure out if it was a public API that we could tap into, and we couldn't find anything. We couldn't find because we're talking about the app. We're talking about the app that's on your device that turns your iPhone or whatever into a controller, and that part seemed to be kind of a private thing that only Apple had published.
Yeah, there's a couple of proprietary solutions out there. I have a solution that uses an app that's installed separately, which uses Wi-Fi, local Wi-Fi to do the work.
Yeah.
So, and then it has the some of the things you can do is you can configure the controls so the game will connect to the app. And the app will say, I need 2 buttons and a joystick. And the thing goes, okay, 2 buttons and a joystick. Let me put them on there. And then you can do is like custom artwork and stuff too. So like have the app send art that says, this is what I want you to display. So you can like make it look right for the game. or like I'm doing a card game or something, you know. So I'm still working on some of that, but
Okay.
that's the basic premise. There's nothing that is core. There's no like I called on a special Apple feature and go, that's how it works. No, it's all going the long distance around on Wi-Fi, which is kind of a pain.
Okay. Okay.
Does that mean, Ed, that you could do a game, you know, like on the Wii U, where each controller has its own screen and its own private information? Could you expand
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yes. And because I have a game where it runs on the TV and it shows you one thing, but on the device you see completely like your own little details, like a quiz game, but you got to draw something. So, yeah. So that's the idea.
And he's left us again.
Yeah. I guess it wasn't interesting enough. I think it was interesting. He's like, nope, guys, that ain't gonna work. Forget about it.
Charles.
Yes.
Charles, you really need to mute your microphone. We just heard all of the business plans for the next
Oh
year.
man. Shh.
Yeah.
Don't worry, he'll cut that out later.
Yeah, we're actually trying to figure out. You know, we're GDC is tomorrow. We go set up the booth, and then on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday we work at the event, and we've got a demo reel and a TV, and we're gonna have a laptop, and then I brought devices, and of course, you know, but we have like a ton of devices here at the office, so we're trying to figure out which ones we should take. So we're gonna take the Apple TV and.
Keep track of your devices, buddy.
Yeah,
off the GDC.
See, that's the other aspect of it is we're like, okay, who's going to be working when and what's the coverage? And I mean, you know, it's not just you didn't just show up.
Do not hand your device to some guy on the floor. You'll never see that device again.
Well, we've done that in the past, and what we do is, you know, we're right there with them, right? We just stay.
Put a little shocky monkey on their, you know, shoulder.
Yeah.
Shocky monkey will shock them if they walk 5 feet away.
Right. Right. It's always, yeah. It's
I'd love to see that little trained shocky monkey.
All right. I will get footage of that. That'll be the GDC roll.
Yeah, that'll come up on the screen. Don't do it or it'll shock you. That's a very good monkey.
Yeah.
What do you say,
bitch? All right. Well, I don't know how long we've been on. We've been on a long time. So I don't know.
1,000,000 years.
Hours. Okay, so let's wrap it up. And I think this was cool. I'd love to be able to do this on a regular basis. You know, be in the office, that is. But
all they got to do is fly all the way there.
Yeah, all I got to do is fly me halfway across the country. And that's you know.
No, what you got to do is get some other guy to walk around with a selfie stick.
Yeah.
You have to have a lackey in the office your selfie stick walker.
Hey, if it was up to me, I would video the Monday team meetings and engineering meetings, just because those are like, there's a lot of information in there. There's a lot of, even just the back and forth discussion.
A lot of private information.
Yeah. I you know, just record them and then publish them and, you know, maybe edit out the.
Talk about letting all the cats out of the bag.
But sometimes there's just a good discussion, like why a user voice item is, you know, approved or not approved, right? Like we say yes or no. I mean, there's a it's not just a like, no, we don't want to do that. There's a healthy discussion that goes on I would love to be able to publish those. So I'm working on it.
Is there any like arm wrestling that goes on, like to decide issues?
Yeah, physically, no, but mentally, yes. But I would love to put in like webcam kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, people would be interested. Some people would watch. I don't know. Anyway. All right, guys.
But anyways,
I'm gonna go, and I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to watching the last half of Ed's presentation because I missed it. I did. No, I missed it. I did miss it.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right.
I got schooled. That's what I was looking for. I got schooled on coding.
Yeah.
Learn something new.
I'll put in some dramatic music.
Ed getting schooled. Da, 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 da.
A theatrical trailer. Okay. All right. Goodbye, guys.
Auf Wiedersehen.
See you.
Yeah.
Cheers.